Rebuilding begins with destruction. The first and most crucial act in transformation is annihilation, the deliberate, cold-blooded dismantling of your former self. Most people attempt to rebuild like gardeners pruning a dead tree, trimming the edges, keeping the roots. But what they fail to realize is that the old roots carry the same weakness, the same disease that infected their former identity. You do not prune the weak, you burn it down. You do not rehabilitate the defeated version of yourself, you bury it. Every failure, every regret, every soft excuse that has lived inside you up until this moment must be viewed as an enemy. The strategist sees his former hesitation as a liability. Every time you let emotion delay your action, every time you sought comfort instead of dominance, every time you obeyed fear instead of reason, you were carving weakness into your foundation. And anything built on weakness will eventually collapse. That version of you must not be negotiated with. It must be erased without ceremony. You are not here to fix yourself. You are here to forge something entirely new. And forging requires fire. You must stand in front of yourself without illusions and admit where you've been soft, where you've been cowardly, where you've betrayed your own ambition. There is no honor in denial. The strategist is brutally honest with himself, not because he craves truth, but because lies get in the way of power. When you lie to yourself, you build on fantasy, and fantasy shatters under pressure. There will be a temptation to preserve pieces of who you were, to keep parts that feel comfortable, nostalgic, or innocent. That temptation is your enemy. Nostalgia is a trick of the mind to keep you enslaved to your former limitations. You must ask yourself a cold question. Does this trait, this habit, this belief make me harder to destroy or easier? If the answer is easier, it must be eliminated. Even sentimentality has a cost. You cannot afford it. Weakness often disguises itself in noble language. You'll hear it say, "Be kind to yourself," or "Take your time," or "Everyone struggles." But behind these words is decay. These are mantras of the powerless designed to make you feel good while you lose. You do not need to feel good. You need to become strong. That is the only justification for your rebirth, to emerge with more discipline, more focus, more power. If your new self isn't terrifying to your old self, you haven't rebuilt anything. You've just rearranged the ruins. Every day that you allow the weaker version of yourself to live, you give it another chance to speak. It will whisper doubt. It will try to reclaim space in your mind. It will masquerade as the voice of caution, humility, even peace. But it is none of those things. It is the voice of the past trying to drag you backwards. The strategist silences it through decisive action, through ruthlessness toward his old patterns. There is no mourning in this process. There is no reflection. There is only the flame. Some will say this mindset is too extreme, but extreme outcomes require extreme approaches. You are not trying to live like everyone else. You are not trying to be liked. You are not trying to find balance. You are trying to rebuild with the intent to dominate your world, to bend reality around your will. That level of influence cannot be built on soft foundations. The weak version of yourself didn't get you there. It only delayed you. It only made excuses. It only survived. You are not here to survive. You are here to conquer. Conquest begins with demolition. The former self must be broken so completely that it cannot rise again. Not even in thought. Ask ChatGPT, you said. Keynote 2 expanded up to minimum 800 words and do not add any ending sentence. Do not add bullets, points, and mention every keynote heading. ChatGPT said, reconstruct your identity based on power, not emotion. The error of most men lies in rebuilding themselves around emotions, around what feels good, what feels inspiring, what feels comfortable. But emotion is air. It moves in directions you cannot control, shifts with the hour, abandons you in your darkest moments. The man who constructs his new identity on emotion is building a fortress out of clouds. He will collapse the moment reality demands more than sentiment. Emotion is reactionary. It waits for something to happen before it responds. But power is proactive. It dictates, commands, reshapes. A strategist rebuilds not based on what he feels, but on what works. When you strip away the illusions, what remains is function. The question is no longer who do I want to be, but what makes me unbreakable. A new identity must be forged like a weapon deliberately, without mercy, and with the sole purpose of acquiring control over one's environment. You are not rebuilding a personality, you are engineering a force. You are not here to be expressive or authentic. You are here to become useful, influential, and above all, untouchable. Your identity must be designed with the cold efficiency of a military structure, not the softness of emotional self-discovery. Every trait you choose must serve a strategic purpose. If it does not increase your focus, your discipline, your leverage over others, or your control over yourself, it does not belong in your reconstruction. Charisma is not adopted because it feels good, but because it manipulates perception. Discipline is not pursued because it's noble, but because it wins when talent sleeps. Silence is not cultivated because it's peaceful, but because it builds mystery, power, and respect. Traits are not ornaments, they are weapons, each selected with precision, each sharpened through repetition. Reconstruction means detaching from the fantasy of a true self, the idea that there is some natural, pure version of you waiting to be uncovered is a trap. That version was formed by others, by parents, teachers, media, and early weakness. It was never yours. The strategist rejects this mythology. He becomes who he needs to be, not who he once was. The true self is a forged self. Nothing about your identity is sacred. Everything is a tool, and tools can be replaced, reshaped, or discarded. You must learn to wear traits like armor, not like skin. Confidence, indifference, charm, austerity. They are roles you master, not feelings you wait for. The moment you rely on feeling confident to act confident, you become vulnerable. Power is born in the ability to act outside of emotion. You speak with force even when uncertain. You move with precision even when anxious. You confront chaos with calm even when enraged. Emotion becomes a servant to your will, not its master. That is the difference between reconstruction and relapse. The weak man waits to feel strong. The strategist behaves powerfully and becomes powerful through behavior. The world does not reward intention. It does not care about your inner transformation unless it becomes visible in action. Identity must be observable to hold weight. If people do not perceive you as competent, they will not treat you as competent. If they do not perceive you as dangerous, they will exploit you. Reconstruction, therefore, must be externalized. Your presence, your posture, your words, your silence, they must all reflect your new design. Do not speak unless it creates impact. Do not move unless it advances position. Do not reveal unless it serves a purpose. Self-worth, as sold by the soft modern world, is a fantasy detached from results. You do not become valuable by believing in yourself. You become valuable by becoming useful, competent, and feared in the right circles. Reconstruction is not about inner peace. It is about external positioning. Your new identity must tilt the power dynamics in your favor. It must create an atmosphere around you that demands respect, that silences interruptions, that draws opportunity. You are building gravity, not comfort. You must become selective with everything: your time, your words, your rituals. Each element of your life must be filtered through one question: Does this amplify my strength or weaken it? There is no middle ground. Even neutrality is a loss. Indecision is a decision to be conquered. Every action must contribute to the construction of a higher version of you, leaner, sharper, more precise. There is no tolerance for emotional drift, no room for vague intentions. You are designing yourself like a weapon system, efficient, multi-dimensional, and built for psychological warfare as much as for practical impact. Understand this: your emotions are not useless, but they must be contained, harnessed, channeled into performance. Anger becomes fuel, pain becomes focus, desire becomes discipline, but none of them sit at the control panel. You do, and if any of them attempt a coup, you silence them with execution. The strategist does not eliminate feeling, he disciplines it. Emotion becomes a weapon only after it is caged. When others rebuild themselves, they often want to be understood, accepted, seen. But your goal is not to be seen. It is to be obeyed, to be respected, to be counted. And you will not earn that by wearing your heart on your sleeve. You will earn it by wearing armor that looks like flesh. They will think you are like them until they realize you are not. They will sense something different, something untouchable beneath the surface. That difference is the result of design, not discovery. Predictability is vulnerability in its purest form. It gives others the blueprint to your behavior, the roadmap to your weaknesses, and the timing of your moves. When you are predictable, you are manageable. When you are manageable, you are never feared. The strategist understands that power does not only reside in action, it also resides in the anticipation of action. If people can anticipate you, they can contain you. Therefore, the first step in becoming truly powerful is to erase all signs of predictable behavior and replace them with controlled mystery. To move without pattern is to unnerve those around you. It is not about being chaotic. It is about being unreadable. Randomness is useless. It shows lack of direction. But unpredictability with intent is a weapon. It puts others on edge, keeps them watching, guessing, second guessing. When people cannot decipher your next move, they hesitate to make theirs. This hesitation is your advantage. The power of unpredictability is not in confusion. It's in control. You are not lost. You are untraceable by design. Most people live with transparent rhythms. They react the same way under stress, speak too often, explain themselves too much, reveal too quickly. They leave trails in their speech, breadcrumbs in their habits. Their minds are easy to map because their emotional patterns remain unchanged. The strategist rejects this openness. He offers no roadmap. He learns to withhold. He uses silence as a tactic, not because he has nothing to say, but because saying less makes others reveal more. He understands the paradox of mystery. The less you speak, the more power your words carry when they finally arrive. Mystery does not mean invisibility. It means controlled revelation. You do not disappear from the world. You appear only when necessary, and when you do, it is deliberate. The strategist appears with force, with timing, and with precision. He knows that too much exposure breeds familiarity, and familiarity kills respect. You must become known for your impact, not your availability. Your presence must be earned, not expected. When others believe they know you, they stop fearing you. The solution is to always leave a gap between who you are and what they see. Let them underestimate your intelligence. Let them misread your intentions. Let them assume the wrong version of you. Every false assumption they make becomes your leverage. You are not obligated to correct them. In fact, their ignorance is your shield. The strategist does not rush to clarify. He lets others stumble over their own conclusions, while he remains 2 moves ahead. In conflict, unpredictability is a psychological weapon. It breaks the rhythm of your opponent. When they expect retaliation, give silence. When they expect submission, give defiance. When they think you're indifferent, strike. Controlled mystery is the art of war without open declaration. It disorients those who rely on patterns. It terrifies those who demand consistency. People crave predictable enemies because they are easier to handle. You must deny them that comfort. Controlled mystery also protects your growth. When people cannot define you, they cannot confine you. They cannot anchor your past to your present, cannot force you into old identities. This freedom from definition allows you to evolve without resistance. You change silently, without needing applause or approval. And by the time the world realizes what you've become, it's already too late. They are facing something far more dangerous than they expected. The strategist understands timing. He doesn't reveal everything he knows, everything he wants, or everything he's building. He lets others operate on limited data. He reveals just enough to influence perception, never enough to be fully understood. The balance is delicate. Too much mystery and you disappear. Too little and you become ordinary. The power is in the ratio, visible enough to be felt, hidden enough to be feared. Predictability is for those who want to be accepted. Mystery is for those who want to be remembered. In a world addicted to exposure, the one who controls what is seen, when it is seen, and how it is interpreted holds the advantage. You must become that figure, the presence that cannot be read, the mind that cannot be mapped, the force that can arrive from any direction. Adaptation is not a suggestion, it is survival. The strategist does not seek stability. He thrives in movement, in volatility, in the reshaping of terrain. To rebuild yourself with power at the center, you must develop a cold willingness to adapt at the cost of comfort, legacy, or loyalty. There is no evolution without betrayal of your past self, your former dreams, your outdated values. When the environment changes, the man who refuses to change with it becomes a monument to weakness. The strategist, on the other hand, rewires himself repeatedly, not because he enjoys change, but because refusing to change is death. Most people stay loyal to the version of themselves that no longer serves them. They cling to habits that once gave them peace, to people who once gave them validation, to routines that once gave them structure. But what once worked is not guaranteed to work again. They remain stuck because they confuse consistency with strength. But strength does not come from sameness, it comes from utility. If a method, a connection, or a lifestyle has lost its usefulness, it must be abandoned. No apologies, no explanations, no farewell tour. Power demands movement. The movement demands sacrifice. This sacrifice begins with a brutal inventory. You must examine everything you have accepted as part of yourself and ask, does this serve who I am becoming? If the answer is no, the decision is already made. The strategist does not negotiate with outdated pieces of identity. Sentimentality is the luxury of the powerless. The minute you become sentimental about your methods, you slow down your evolution. You begin defending the past instead of conquering the future. Comfort is the great sedative. It keeps men in the same job, the same city, the same mindset, long after they've outgrown it. It whispers that staying put is safe, that stability equals security. But security is an illusion crafted for the obedient. The strategist knows that anything static can be studied, targeted, and outmaneuvered. He must remain dynamic. That means discomfort becomes the compass. If a path feels uncertain, that is where growth is hiding. If a decision feels emotionally difficult, it is likely necessary. You must train yourself to lean toward the sharp edges. Adaptation also demands that you stop expecting the world to make sense. The environment does not owe you fairness, predictability, or explanation. Things will shift without warning. People will betray you. Systems will collapse. The strategist doesn't waste time demanding justice. He observes, recalibrates, and repositions. He does not mourn what was lost. He simply replaces it. Adaptation is not emotional. It is mechanical. If your tools fail, you build better ones. If your alliances falter, you forge new ones. If your plan collapses, you do not freeze, you rewire the entire strategy before anyone notices. The world respects only what it cannot break. When you rebuild yourself with ruthless adaptability, you become impossible to corner. Your enemies cannot predict your moves because you have no fixed pattern. Your competitors cannot outlast you because you change form when they dig in. This fluidity gives you longevity. This refusal to stay the same becomes your greatest shield. Loyalty, too, must be redefined. The strategist is loyal only to one thing, his own ascension. All other loyalties are conditional. People will call this disloyalty. They will say you've changed. Let them. You owe no allegiance to those who keep you small. Relationships, communities, and even mentors are useful only to the extent that they sharpen your edge. The moment they begin to dull it, you owe them nothing. The strategist does not bleed for those who block his evolution. He severs ties, not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. You are not rebuilding a life of comfort. You are rebuilding a system of force. That requires shedding everything that slows the signal. There is no reward for staying loyal to what no longer serves you. There is no prize for holding onto dead weight. You must learn to detach quickly, pivot sharply, and rebuild faster than your circumstances can cage you. When the time comes to move, you do not hesitate. When the path becomes outdated, you do not ask for permission to leave. You are not here to preserve comfort. You are here to conquer discomfort and bend it to your advantage. Power is not only in what you do. It is in what others believe you are capable of doing. The strategist understands that the game is won not merely through action, but through perception. Reputation is the armor you wear long before you enter a room. It is the silent force that bends conversations, controls expectations, and shapes outcomes without a single word spoken. A powerful reputation is not accidental. It is engineered. It is constructed like a fortress, reinforced over time, and built to intimidate before confrontation even occurs. You are not rebuilding yourself merely to be stronger. You are rebuilding to become a symbol, and symbols do not whisper. They cast shadows. The masses build their image based on how they want to be liked. They confuse popularity with power. But to be liked is to be softened. The strategist builds his reputation not to be adored, but to be respected, to be feared, to be remembered. This begins with intentional ambiguity. You do not reveal everything. You do not overshare. You create space between who you are and what others believe. In that space, rumors grow, myths form, and perception stretches beyond reality. That distortion is not a flaw. It is a weapon. People begin to assign strength to you that you have not even shown, and that is the edge. When they overestimate your ability, they surrender ground before the battle begins. To build this kind of presence, you must craft an identity that speaks before you do. Your words must be few, but sharp. Your actions must be rare, but undeniable. Your presence must be calculated to disrupt the normal rhythm of interaction. A strategist is not accessible. He is not always present, and when he does arrive, it is with timing and intention. Overexposure dissolves mystery, and mystery is the gateway to fear. Reputation thrives on scarcity. You must learn to move like smoke, appearing only when necessary and leaving a mark that lingers longer than your presence. Your reputation should reflect traits that command psychological territory: discipline, unpredictability, silence, and power. These are not trends. These are foundations. You develop them through repeated behavior, but you amplify them through narrative. Let people hear about what you've done from others. Let your name travel without your body. Let your story grow in size, even if it is built on small but significant actions. You do not need to do everything. You only need to do the right things with intensity, and let the echoes build your legend. Even your flaws must be crafted strategically. You do not hide them. You frame them. A temper becomes ruthless passion. Coldness becomes laser focus. Absence becomes importance. The strategist knows that image management is not lying. It is interpretation. It is the art of making your imperfections feel intentional. You do not seek to be perfect. You seek to be unforgettable. Flaws become acceptable, even admirable, when the overall structure commands respect. Control how others speak about you, even in your absence. Reputation is what is said when your back is turned. When your name appears in a room you're not in. It must carry weight. It must silence conversations or shift them. This is how your influence grows in silence. It creeps into places you have not yet reached. It conditions people to think twice before challenging you. It puts pressure on your competitors and unease in your rivals. When a man carries a formidable reputation, he rarely has to raise his voice. The room adjusts to him. A weak man waits to prove himself in action. A strategist ensures that by the time action arrives, the victory has already tilted in his favor. Reputation is your advance force, your psychological infiltration, your silent enforcer. You are not just rebuilding yourself to be stronger internally. You are building the story the world must believe about you. And if that story is crafted with precision, you will command obedience from those who have never even met you. Rebuilding yourself like a ruthless strategist is not a journey of healing. It is a process of weaponization. It begins with the violent destruction of your weaker self, a self that once tolerated mediocrity and begged for comfort. From that wreckage you do not rise gently. You rise deliberately, crafting an identity not from emotion, but from efficiency, from dominance, from purpose. You become unpredictable, unreadable, erasing the patterns that once betrayed your every move. Adaptation becomes your creed. You betray comfort, abandon familiarity, and sever ties to anything that slows your evolution. Loyalty is reserved only for what sharpens you. And above all, you construct a reputation so formidable, so commanding, that your presence influences rooms long before you enter. This is not about being better. It is about becoming untouchable. In this world, strength is not given. It is taken, engineered, and enforced. The man who understands this does not merely survive. He dictates the terms of his existence.